Alright, so we have the x-axis, belt axis. Now I need to work on the y-axis. So we've got just a few parts left. This is the extruder lever. So really we only have the hot end carriage. I'm going to use more of this tubing as mounts. Good. I'm not going to zip tie that on yet because I feel like it'll be easier to work on it. So this will be mounted there. This will be coming out that way. Screw hole on the bottom side. So the carriage will be strapped on underneath. So the carriage will look, I think, this way. So that'll be where from mounting the carriage and put on the hot end. One long screw in here to adjust the end stop. And then we, I believe, can mount the motor. So there's no adjustment. There's an extra screw hole here, and I don't know what that's for, and it's worrying me. But we're going to ignore it and see if something's missing at the end. I think we're ready to mount the motor on there. See a reason to wait. It's a pretty tight cap to get the belt around. Zip it around like so. Basically just give it a good roll bias and kind of squeeze it in around. That should be enough to get it around the pulley. And the tolerances are tight enough that you really can't get the belt on. And the hot end part. So the bag says we have a 24 volt hot end. It's all nicely assembled too. And I'm going to grab my multimeter and check the voltage on that. When I say check the voltage, what I mean is check the resistance. 24 volt heater has much higher resistance, and I would guess this is a 40 watt heater. Means what, 24 squared? 10-ish. So this is a 3.5 ohm. So this, I believe, is a 12 volt. It's just an incorrect bag. I don't think 12 or 24 will make a difference for this printer. The hot end will be a little slower to heat. Well, not really, depending on the wattage. But they're so low watts that I don't think the motors, they're going to be running at minimal current anyways. So just be careful that you're only going to run it at 12 if you have a 12 volt heater, and if you're set up for that. I believe it's designed as 12 volt, but it really does not make a lot of difference. Alright, so this goes on like so. Oh yeah, and it's a 12 volt fan. So you do want the fan to be pointing with the sort of cage on the inside. This out, so that mounts there. The fan would mount right there. 10mm screws aren't going to do it, so we mount the fan with 20mm screws. Now this is the hot end cooling fan. There is not a print cooling fan on this printer. That's one of the things I would like to add to it. And the way this is attached, you got a fan on one side to cool the hot end. It seems to me you could add a fan to the other side to cool the print itself. Or, ever popular, on a belt printer you have this front area, so you could have a fairly large cooling fan, like a squirrel cage sticking out, and then going on either side of the nozzle, where it, in theory, would not get run into anything. That's going on this side. The hot end wires are much longer than they need to be. So the hot end is going to be mounted inside here. Right back. I'm using two more of the 20mm screws to hold that in. So it looks like the belt is just held on. There's little extra zip tie mounts, so I'll zip tie this guy on. It doesn't Seem like there's any way to tension the belt. You don't need exactly high tension, but it's mildly odd not to have even a zip tie tensioner. So if we do the 2 loops, we could tension it like that and then just clamp the belt in place. I think we're going to try doing that. We're going to make this into a belt loop and make another belt loop on the other side. And then we can tension those, and after tensioning, lock the belt in place to the carriage. Be very careful because everything is quite small. So that is the belt tensioner. Let's see, that's pretty good. Then I will zip tie that on. And this zip tie is locking the belt in place, as is this guy, but he's locking the clamp for the belt. You can always come back and loosen that. Cut these zip ties off and tighten this some more. So I'm going to cut him with a little bit of a gap in there, whereas we cut those guys flush. And that is, cut that guy short. I always leave the belt as long as I can for as long as I can, just in case. That is the full mechanical build. The only thing we have left to do is the extruder, and then we'll wire it up. Alright guys, happy printing.